presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and powered by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Welcome to the podcast, where former San Antonio police officer, author, and pastor Tim Rupp walks you through real-life scenarios involving our police officers and digs into the depths of facts and opinions on each case. This is Cop Talk, and it starts now.
Hello and welcome to the Strong Blue Line's Cop Talk. I'm Tim Rupp in the Rev.FM studio in beautiful Idaho Falls. Here with me is station manager Gary Austin. Hello, Gary.
Hello, Tim Rupp.
Yeah, we've got some unfinished business to do. Last time we started talking about that Atheist Chaplain deal.
Yeah.
We started chasing rabbit trails.
Yeah.
And we didn't get far, but
we talked about a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. Very interesting. So we're going to continue with that theme.
Okay.
Atheist Chaplain, the oxymoron of chaplaincy. Okay, before we get to that, we got some other things to cover. First of all, first and foremost, we'll talk about our Officer Down Memorial page, the officers who were killed in the line of duty on this date in history. And Gary, I have Police Officer Charles Bratton from the Burlingham Police Department, Kansas. I bet you don't know where the Burlingham Police Department, Kansas is, do you?
No.
Well, I didn't know either. It's a little bitty tiny town. It's got a population today of under 1,000.
Oh.
So it's a small little
tiny.
country
Okay.
town 30 miles south of Topeka.
Oh.
Topeka. Yeah, you know why they call it Topeka?
No.
Because the Indian had a hole in his moccasin.
Oh, Tim
Yes,
Rupp.
that's why they call it Topeka.
Wow. Cop Talk at the Rev.FM.
Keep your day job. They fired me from my day job. What's wrong with you? Okay, end of watch. Charles Bratton, end of watch, November 27th, 1874, right in the middle of Wild West. This is Kansas,
right.
Dodge City's in Kansas, not too far from here on the other side of the state, not that far. Anyway, police officer Charles Bratton succumbed to stab wounds he sustained 5 days earlier while assisting the city marshal arrest a man for abusing his wife.
Oh.
So back to the domestic violence call, a domestic violence call. The officers were escorting the man to jail when he suddenly pulled out a 10-inch butcher knife and stabbed the officer twice.
Oh.
The suspect was arrested and charged with murder. Officer Bratton was survived by his parents, sister, and two brothers, 26 years old.
Man.
A 7-inch butcher knife. I talked to a friend of mine that goes to Water Springs here. He's going to be employed at the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office as a sheriff's deputy.
Oh.
And I was talking to him. He's going to go into the jail to start working in the jail. And I said, man, you're going to learn things like how to search prisoners. I said, you got to be serious about that. Search the prisoner, even after they're searched by officers in the streets and they come in and turn them over. They're searched again. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because this guy, they didn't search him. A 7-inch butcher knife.
Wow.
They just don't expect things like, let's go get Ralph again, and put him in jail or whatever, and he pulls out a knife and kills him. Anyways, what do you have there, Gary?
This is police officer Garrett Preston Russell Swasey. I think that's how you pronounce it. University of Colorado at Colorado Springs Police Department. And end of watch, November 27th, 2015.
I know what this one is, Gary.
So, are you sure?
Yes, I do.
You recognize this name?
Yes, I do. I remember that.
So, so you can probably tell me the story better than I can.
Oh, this is when Jake, a skid staff of Shield 616, remember he was on here, Gary?
Yes, I do.
So Jake,
remember.
what happened in this is officers received a call for shots being fired at this place.
Okay.
This was on Black Friday. In 2015, was it? Yeah, 2015,
yeah,
Black
2015.
Friday. So the officer responded to shots fired. This guy was inside this building shooting at people, and he shot and killed this officer. Others were shot, but amazingly, nobody else was killed. Wow. And Jake was on the Colorado Springs Police Department at the time, and he was assigned to SWAT. Well, he was off. It was Black Friday. He was off that weekend. He had spent time with his family and so forth. And he said he remembers, he tells the story on one of our shows. He says, my pager went off. He said, normally I wouldn't even look at it. He said, but some reason I just looked at it. And he turned his radio on, and they found an officer was shot, and officers were responding. So he didn't have his SWAT vehicle with him. He just threw his stuff in his personal vehicle. jumped in and went there, assuming that it would all be over with by the time they got there. It wasn't. It took them like 30 minutes to get there or something. And we talked about that. SWAT doesn't, they're not, and they get there anyways. They went through and they started clearing. This guy continued to shoot and shoot. And it took them a long time to finally get this cleared out.
Yeah, like 5 hours.
Yeah, it was like 5 hours. And they finally cleared it out and they were able to arrest him. And Jake tells the story. I mean, he was in there. He was under fire. And all that stuff was going on. But fortunately, this is the only officer that lost his life in that incident.
So it doesn't say like what his motive was.
No,
so he didn't shoot anybody else.
He was just a mass shooter. He was trying to shoot people. He hit other people.
Oh, he didn't kill him. Okay.
Yeah, he shot other people. He was shooting up thing. He wasn't going to be taken alive, and they finally ended up taking him alive. They ended up arresting him.
Oh yeah.
But this was the incident that really projected Jake into starting Shield 616.
Yes, that's what else.
And what Shield 616 is, you can look it up online, shield616.org or .com.
Org, yeah.
Just Shield and then the number 616. And that comes out of actually Ephesians 6:16.
Yeah, that's right.
Shield of Salvation. Anyways, Jake does that ministry, and he goes around the country and he raises money to buy officers rifle rated body armor. And so it's like $2,500 to outfit one officer.
Yeah,
it's not cheap.
No, it's not. And departments,
and departments just don't. Yeah,
they just don't have the money.
They don't have the money to do that.
To...
You say, well, I thought all officers had vests. Generally, they do, but the vests are only protective against pistol fire, not against rifle.
Right.
And we're seeing more and more rifles. So
very scary.
Yeah.
But this interesting. At the end here, it says the suspect has been repeatedly deemed incompetent to stand trial, and is currently being held in a mental facility.
Yeah, and that's one of them catch-22 things.
Yeah.
You got to be crazy to do something like that. Yeah, I am crazy.
Yeah,
so therefore you can't try me because I'm crazy. It's like, and that's
Yeah, I don't. And we have seen that in other cases too. That it is a catch-22 there, because it's.
Yeah,
what do you do?
Yeah.
If they're singing in court and they're, whatever, it's like, well.
Yeah, remember Charles Manson?
Yeah.
He ended up dying in prison.
Yeah.
Who would say that guy's not crazy?
Exactly.
But who would say he didn't deserve to be in prison for the rest of his life?
Yep.
So, anyways, wow.
Yeah.
That brings back memories. Hey, formerly aired shows of Cop Talk can be found on Amazon, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify platforms. Thank you, Gary, for doing that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Giving Thursday is coming up. Today is Wednesday, the 27th of October. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving.
November.
November.
November. You said October.
I did say October, didn't I? Boy, okay. November.
I knew what you meant.
The years go by too quickly. The months fly by. Anyways, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so enjoy Thanksgiving with your family. Families and friends and so forth. Just be thankful for the Lord, for the country that He's given to us, and all the blessings we have. And but Giving Tuesday is next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So the Rev is having a big push. You probably heard the commercials and so forth. So if you're so inclined, support the Rev.fm.
And the StrongBlueLine.org.
And the StrongBlueLine.org. You can go on there and give for Giving Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it, and help us to get the good word out. So we didn't finish up with our Atheist Chaplain. We talked about there's a man named Jason Callahan who is purports to be an atheist, and he says the chaplain. We were talking about that, Gary, about the main thing is, how do you provide somebody hope if you don't believe in God?
Yeah.
So if you don't believe in God, then you don't. I think it's natural. You don't believe in afterlife, and bodily. That's all. This is as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's here.
Right.
And some people have a pretty decent life. We all go through suffering and pain of some time or another.
Yeah.
But this isn't the only hope we have. Far from it. And so we started talking about that, and we left off here with him wanting. He wanted to care for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think his heart's probably in the right place. He wants to care for people.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? He says here, being an atheist, non-believer, unaffiliated, whatever you want to call yourself, lends itself really well to chaplaincy. because we naturally don't project our own stuff on people, he says. Well, as a chaplain, and I taught chaplains, I ran a chaplaincy before, and it's very important to instill in the chaplains that you're not there to convert them to your religion, to go to your church,
right?
Whatever. You're not there to proselytize and make them go to your church. Now, Christian chaplains, the ultimate goal is salvation, to introduce them to Jesus Christ. He is the only hope that we have.
Right.
That's the ultimate goal. But you don't push things on people, especially when they're in this kind of a situation. Things are delicate. You make yourself there. The main thing with chaplains is a ministry of presence. You're there as a human being. What can I help you with? Can I do? Would you like me to pray for you? They generally say yes. If they say no, then you don't pray for them out loud. You can still pray, silently, but you don't want to push that on people.
Yeah.
And so even an atheist chaplain can push his or her ideas on other people. So you can't say that, okay, I'm an atheist, so I don't do that. Well, you can. You can, you can try to get people to, I don't know why you would, but you could try to do that. But even as the population moves away from religion, this is the writer here, the writer of the story, Harmeet Kaur. But even as the population moves away from religion, the desire for spirituality and connectedness remains. We've talked about that here, Gary, about relations. We are born, or we were created to be in a relationship with other people.
You're right.
With other people, in a relationship with God.
Yeah.
That is natural. That is norm. The connectedness remains. Pew survey indicates about half of the nuns describe themselves as spiritual and say that they're more important to them. What I did, I skipped over. Where I got this highlighted where I wouldn't miss it. I skipped that part.
Oh.
Callahan's role reflects a broader trend in society. About 28%. Quite a bit, over a quarter percent of adults in the U.S. belong to a group known as the religious nuns. Now that's not N-U-N-S like a Catholic nun. That's N-O-N-E-S,
Okay.
nuns, like nothing, nada, zero, zilch.
Wow, glad you caught that, Tim.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Meaning that they identify as atheists, agnostics. Now, some people say, what's the difference between an atheist and agnostic? An atheist says, I don't believe there's a God.
Right.
Agnostic says, I don't know. I don't think there is, but I leave room for the door to be open if there's a God. Or nothing in particular, according to a Pew Research poll. But even as the population moves away from any religion, the desire for spirituality and connectedness remains, what I just read. The Pew survey indicates about half of the nuns, so half of this 28% would be about 14%, see themselves as spiritual or say spirituality is important to them. So now you got 74% of people say they're connected to some kind of religion, and then 14% more. So that goes up to well over 80%.
Well, sure.
So most people in this country still believe in a higher power, a God, some kind of spirituality. Fundamental questions that faith has long answered, from why we're here, and what it means to live a meaningful life. And so how in the world, Gary, put on your atheist hat. Let me pretend you're an atheist.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you this question. Why are we here?
To just live.
To live. And what is the meaning of life?
Meaning in life is to do as much as you can.
Why?
Accomplish as much as you can.
What do you want to accomplish?
Whatever you want.
And so it's hard to argue from an atheist standpoint. We're here, if we were just an accident, then why do we care about other people?
Yeah.
Because they're just an accident that happened.
I wondered that too.
What is the purpose? I don't know.
Man, and I was thinking too that not only that, but can you imagine kids teaching your kids that there's no God, that this is what life is all about? Yeah,
this is it. This is it, and there's no more.
No.
You live as long as you can, have as much fun as you can, you die.
Yeah, and some people just have bad luck if they get sick. And
if you get sick and you just too bad.
Yeah.
So what would be the argument against ending life when I have a younger brother, it's Down syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Steve is 57 years old, I think, 58 years old. Down syndrome, he's born with Down syndrome, and he has to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad took care of him till they passed away, and now my older brother, is taking care of our younger brother.
Mm.
But his life is valuable to us. It's a human life.
Yeah.
We love Steve, and he's brought a lot of love to the family.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's just,
They are very loving.
But why would you even want him to live if this is all there was to life?
Right.
What value of his life? What value is he to society?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could argue that he's a drain on society, that he's a consumer not giving anything back. He cannot live by himself. He can't. I mean, he could get a little job and stuff, and he's had jobs in the past, and it's more just to give him something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Not as opposed to being a productive member of society where he's giving back into society and he's producing something for society.
Right.
It would not make sense if there wasn't something else. Why would you allow him to live?
Yeah.
It would be hard to make that argument.
It really would. And with what Callahan is doing, I'm thinking too about so many. I mean, you had me kind of the role play of being an atheist, but
mm-hmm.
if I'm an atheist and giving that hope, I mean, again, it goes back to this. What do you even say?
What is your hope?
Because you can't even talk about miracles. As an atheist, do you even believe in miracles? What are miracles? You're basically telling the person, well, see ya.
There's something. So you mentioned hope, and that makes me think of a verse. Paul is writing in 1 Thessalonians, he's writing to the church at Thessalonica. And in Thessalonica, it was a unique city because that city had no hope.
Mm-hmm.
They worshiped a God. I think we talked about this before. Very interesting. But in 1 Thessalonians 4:13, it says this: "But we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who are asleep or those who have died, that you may not grieve as others who have no hope." See, Paul is telling the believers, hey, you got a brother or sister who has died.
Mm-hmm.
We grieve. He didn't say not to grieve, but
right.
You don't grieve as those who have no hope.
Yeah.
Because there's hope beyond this life,
mm-hmm.
and that hope is only in Jesus Christ, and that's where our hope lies. That's where, and when you look at it, and look at the Bible and the Christian faith, and you can see, and you can have, and the science and all this stuff comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Can we explain everything? No, we can't explain everything. If we can explain everything, you'd be God, and you're not God, and I'm not God. We can't explain everything. And we never will have that knowledge that God has. But Callahan, so I want to continue to talk. And another thing so Callahan is a chaplain at the Virginia Commonwealth University in the Cancer Center. And though it wasn't necessarily a profession he had managed for himself, despite attending a Presbyterian church growing up, Callahan says religion never appealed to him. He realized early on that he didn't believe in a higher power. So he just didn't believe in it. He felt the messaging around him of faith was too soft for a self-described street dude and boxer like him. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, when he found himself in an advertising center career and ultimately left him unfulfilled. Now, why would something leave him unfulfilled? A career, something is yearning inside him that is not fulfilled. He turned to his old pastor for guidance. When she told him that he had a call to ministry, he was puzzled by the suggestion. What exactly did a call to ministry mean from an avowed atheist? That's a good question myself.
Yeah. What?
Callahan kept an open mind. The pastor advised that he obtain a Master of Divinity degree to open up a number of career paths. Now, Gary, I've got a Master of Divinity degree.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go out and get a Master of Divinity degree to open up job opportunities for me.
Yeah.
I got a Master of Divinity degree to help me with my calling that I felt I was called as a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was confirmed in various ways. But that helped me get the education to be a better pastor, not to get a job. leading him to enroll in seminary. So he enrolled in seminary. He thought that he might eventually work as a community organizer or a social justice oriented and nonprofit. What do you care about social justice for if you're an atheist?
Exactly.
I don't get that.
I don't either.
As part of his spiritual training, he spent a stint as a hospital chaplain at VCU. There he felt he found his calling.
Here we go.
From who?
Here we go.
Who called him?
Yeah.
The pastor? the pastor said that I feel you've been called to ministry. From who? Who called?
Exactly. You're an atheist.
Ephesians, back to Ephesians. The Apostle Paul says this in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 1. I, therefore, a prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. And Paul is writing that to all believers. We are all called to do something, Gary. First of all, the believer has two callings, Gary. The first call is to salvation. Mm-hmm. Jesus calls you to himself for salvation. And you either respond to that call or you reject that call. Salvation is a free gift of God.
Yes.
And you receive that. If you receive that gift, then you become a child of God. You are born again into his family. You are a child of him. Secondly, there's a call to some type of ministry. That doesn't mean that you're called into a full-time vocational ministry like a pastor or a full-time missionary. You're going to go overseas. Wherever you're at, you're called. And Paul even goes on and says, don't leave where you're at. Wherever you are when you trust the Lord, unless you know that the Lord's calling you out of that, stay where you're at.
Yeah.
When I felt a calling into ministry, the first time I felt it, it was right after I had a serious water skiing accident. And I thought, okay, my career as a police officer is over with. And I felt, oh, the Lord's calling me into something. And I thought, okay, I'm done with that. But after I recovered from that and it was affirmed that you stay right where you're at. And so I felt, okay, I'm going to stay right where I'm at. And then later on, the Lord called me out of policing. But, he gave me that career for a long time to help provide for myself and my family, to give me some experiences. And now I see, as I have a ministry, 2 officers, and how all that worked out. I would have never guessed that.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that. But the thing is, we're called, and the only person that can call you is someone with authority over you.
Yeah, right.
If Pastor Ty, which is ultimately our boss here at Water Springs, if Helen called you and said, Pastor, I want to see you in the office right now, Gary, you're gone.
Yeah, right.
I got to go,
Yep.
But if Helen says, hey, Gary, we need you up here. Well, what do you need? Well, one of the custodian needs, whatever. Like, okay, I got some stuff to do, but I'll get there. I got some time. When somebody in authority calls you, so who's in authority that's calling this atheist into
That's what we don't know.
And why?
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy.
It is very interesting for sure. I don't understand it at all, Tim. I really don't.
I don't. Hey, thanks for listening today. We are out of time again, Gary. Don't forget Giving Tuesday is this Tuesday, December 3rd, next week. Thanks for listening in. If you have a topic or question you want addressed on Cop Talk, send me an email. You can email suggestions, questions, comments, or complaints to coptalk@therev.fm. That's coptalk@therev.fm. Thought from the good book today. I therefore urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. Thank you for joining us and helping to make the thin blue line a strong blue line.
Cop Talk is presented by the Strong Blue Line Foundation and sponsored by Moose Ridge Coffee in Snake River Landing, Idaho Falls. Questions and comments are always welcome by email to coptalk@therev.fm. Listen, follow, leave a review, and share this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube. And visit thestrongblueline.org to learn how you can be a supporter. Cop Talk is a Rev FM production, produced and edited by Gary Austin. Thank you for joining us on Cop Talk.